Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And sound effects you have heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. Coming soon, Black Star. Although they're about due for another album, aren't they? Wait, did they? They put that one out? No shit. Right. Because I knew they were working on that, but I didn't know that they had put it out somewhere. Okay, I'm gonna have to go check that out. You're welcome. Indeed. And you can find this here podcast on the Coastal Podcast Network, CSPN.us. And actually, I'm about to do something that's I know it's gonna freak out some audio people, but okay, all right, checks out, great. And you can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, speaking of, and the Coastal Podcast Network SoundCloud page. Yeah. You can also find us you can also find us recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Kliqs Nation's YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/thekliqnation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. Indeed, and shout out to anybody who is in the audience, whether you're lurking or speaking. Like, what's up, Benji Games 2? Appreciate you being here as always. Or yeah, I stand behind that. What the heck is Luminary? Oh, is that supposed to be like I'm thinking about another place where you can, but that's like never mind. It's probably not, because I remember there's a place that I know people that still put stuff out on that you can be like, hey, you can pay this much, you can pay what you want for this, or not, but I can't remember the name of the place. Right. Oh well. That's another another show for another for another podcast. Yes, indeed. And with that, we are. Wait, you don't. You said you don't hear him. Hold on a second. Oh no! Yep, I just hit the. What is going on? Oh, I hate this. Why does this keep happening?
So you're gonna just have to, bear with us as we work the gremlins out of the system.
Yeah.
Live podcasting, folks.
Wait. So I wonder if I do.
We are live podcasting.
Oh wait, you can't say something.
Checkity check.
Now that's
Okay. Yep.
I hear me.
Yep.
And Slappy Squirrel.
And Slappy Squirrel. I have no idea what happened there. That's no, live is the best. You get all the you really work out all the gremlins while you're on the and working it out. I tell you.
Exactly.
Oh, Father. I think I know what caused that, and I was hoping to not have what I was hoping to happen. Nevertheless, we're going to keep trucking along, and I'm not cutting this out. So, we are actually about to go into a spoiler-free / light recap of this week's Star Wars Andor episode 9. Excuse me, I was about to say it. It's episode 9.
Yes, episode 9.
hello there.
So yeah, this episode is called Nobody's Listening, which I don't know, I could think of about 2 or 3 different rap songs that you could kind of put along with that, but we will not go into that because again, this is not a music podcast. Maybe one day.
I mean, listen, we intersperse a lot of our interests, during, we intersperse topics of interest for ourselves throughout this podcast, and we've been doing it for our almost 500 episode run, folks.
This is true, and it usually almost always goes back into music somehow, some way.
Some way, we almost always have some music reference in here.
We become.
But anyway, getting back to Andor episode 9.
Funky fly shit like every single day. Anyway,
because guess what? Andor's locked up.
Exactly. See there, 2 for the price of 1. I tell you,
it's already there.
I wasn't even trying. But yeah, so basically, Andor is still locked up. Some things are shifting in that mode, though. But we also get some updates with other people outside of what's going on with Cassian. We see what's going on with poor Bix.
Poor Bix.
Yeah, and
that was a tough scene.
Kind of was. Although
tough scene.
Kind of made me feel something, but that's we're not going to talk about that.
Damn.
Stop. Let me stop.
Damn.
But
it's a sneak attack.
I know, right? Also, the Inquisitor Deidre, whose last name is escaping me at the moment. Her now creeper, the dude Silas, whatever his freaking name. The dude I want something bad to happen to. Cyril. Yeah, Cyril. Yes.
Yo, Cyril who eats cereal.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So check this. Shout out to the Ringerverse. I thought this when I was watching it and I was listening to the podcast during the commute today. Their instant reactions, and I wanted to, I agreed with them wholeheartedly because I thought about this. Cyril literally cops to being a stalker.
Yes,
he literally cops to it. Says exactly what a stalker is doing. What he was doing, which is literally stalking this lady. Yes. And I was just like, as soon as he said, I was like, I just got the heebie-jeebies. I got the heebie-jeebies. I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing, dude.
No, he absolutely knows what he's doing, but he doesn't seem to care. It's just like, because she even sat there and was like, I am ISB, dude. I could have your ass arrested. What the fuck? No, she didn't say the last part, but still.
Craziness, man.
But also, there are some people that are like that in this world, actually. So that's a sad state of affairs.
As soon as it started to get weirdly romantic, I was like, yo, dude, for real?
Nothing romantic about that.
No, you know what I mean? He started to express weirdly romantic feelings. I was like, dude, seriously?
Right. And you did not read the room on this one. I'm like, dude. I'm like, just hit him. Hit him, blast him, send somebody over. Just do something, woman. Come on. She's like, just like. And that's the bad part about it, because you could almost see it was like, okay, she clearly didn't like it, but at the same time she's kind of thinking about it. I was like,
you think?
Yeah, especially in that next scene after that, which we won't necessarily get into, when she was supposed to go. The next scene when she was supposed to go interrogate the person they had caught, and she was like, "No." It was like, "Wait, she's thinking about dude, isn't she?" Oh God. So, but we'll see if anything comes of that. But yeah, that whole scene was like, dude, really? Take that down 10 notches.
Craziness.
So, but like I said, this is still going to feel like he's going to get something of what he wants.
Right.
And
so Cyril who eats cereal, right? Yeah. Cyril who eats cereal seems to be, it's some. You know what? There's a. I don't know if this is news to everyone. It was news to us today, where just prior to the show, Roddykat and I were discussing a bit, some articles that I had seen, and I shared it with Roddykat, and it was news to him that there is going to be, and this is something, folks. We've been doing the show for a long time, but we definitely lose track of some of the news, and obviously we lose track of some of the comic book stories we read. But I think it sort of slipped our minds that there's going to be an Andor season 2. And what we discovered is that, this story may not reach the Rogue One period until the end of the second season. Right. So we are in this final, say, 3-episode arc after this episode. So we don't anticipate getting anywhere close to the Rogue One time period. So it seems like we're going to be getting, a slightly more drawn out story. So Cyril and his cereal is definitely going to be sticking around probably into the second season.
Maybe, unless they get rid of him by the end of the season. It could very well happen. It could very well happen.
They might. We will see.
That is my hope.
But, yeah, right. I mean, he's definitely developing into the character that nobody wants to follow, but seems to be a character they're setting up for advancement and or development.
Right.
I wanted to add, before we really moved on from the episode, there is a reveal here of a familial relationship between two characters that was heretofore unknown to us.
Right. And I wasn't sure if that was at first I wasn't sure if that was an actual relation, or was that something that was kind of made up to keep them talking. But it actually seems like they seem to be actually family.
Right.
So, which I guess makes a whole lot of sense in this case,
Yeah.
Given if you think about who the characters are and what they've been doing. So I guess the only thing we don't necessarily have in that is how they got into that situation, or how they got into where they are now. But I guess with that part doesn't necessarily matter, or whether they plan on getting to it. I feel like we're also getting to a point that we're basically getting to the point of. No, I guess we still got a good ways for that, because this is before A New Hope. Because I was thinking, because there was a certain part with Mon Mothma that seemed to suggest that it was going to go the way of a certain dialogue in A New Hope. But we still a good ways away from that, I think. As a matter of fact, I know from this point. So, but it seemed like it just clearly was like, well, this is where that's going, with what's been going on with a part of her life. And also, I'm gonna say it here. I've said it on Twitter, and if I haven't said it before, and I probably have said it again, Mon Mothma's husband looks like a dirtbag Will Forte.
Oh no,
he does. He just does. And I don't like him either. But I think that's also purposeful.
I think that's intended, yes. Right? I think that's intended.
Mm-hmm. So, mission accomplished on that one. Just like,
pretty much.
Dirtbag Will Forte. Anywho, that's a bet. Oh, dang. Benji's picked up some books, but we'll talk about them later.
Sure.
One of which I actually had intended on checking. Anyway,
right. One thing we should touch on before we move on, and I actually, I just I literally was just closing up my Instagram feed, and I remembered there is something I wanted to share.
Okay.
that I obtained this past week but like after the last episode.
Okay.
So I needed to step away for a second to go grab it, but I wanted to also mention Andy Serkis's character has been a revelation in this because he plays such a straight character that we're not used to.
And he also has
Right?
a revelation in this episode.
Right, he definitely does, and it's because of let's just say the anticipation that he had was dashed.
What he
His
thought,
hope
yeah,
was dashed.
what he thought was the case with his situation is not the case.
Exactly. I'm keeping it super
Right.
vague for anyone who has not yet watched this or even has started. If you have not started it, you don't even realize. But we've already talked about Andor being locked up and they won't let him out. So you can kind of figure out. Again, there's the music reference. You can kind of figure out what we're referring to here. But at the end of the day, what you need to know is that once this episode ends, things have changed for Andy Serkis's character. What's his name?
Oh, like
Kino.
Kino. Yeah, there we go. I was about to say Nico. Or
Kino.
but yeah.
Kino. Right. So once that's the episode actually ends with kind of a great little exchange that really sets the stage for the last 3 episodes of this season.
Right. But also his delivery was like, wait, did you go back to Lord of the Rings for that delivery? Because that kind of what it feels like.
A little.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, a little.
So, but that was either way.
It
was
wasn't
good.
exactly my precious.
No.
Yeah.
But in the same world of a delivery like that would have been in. So, but nevertheless, Andor still great. So it's starting to ramp up to something. Well, to something we have that we suspected last week was going to happen, or that I suspected was going to start happening this week, and I guess technically it kind of is. Given
Right.
what
It's
happened,
it's the initiation of the plan.
right.
Because there's a little bit of prep.
Right.
Like a little bit of drafting of a plan, let's say here in this episode, but now we're really going to get into the and it seems like based on what we learned that based upon the fact that we learned that there's going to be a season 2, right? So they're not compressing the story they are not compressing the story in the sense that they're not rushing through these last 3 episodes
Right.
to get to Rogue One. So now we have a better idea of what to expect over these last 3 episodes. So we have a better idea of what to expect going forward. So
yeah.
I wanted to just step away very quickly. I know that I don't know if Roddykat has anything more to add on Andor.
No, while you're gone,
I'm just gonna go grab. I'm literally just taking a few steps to grab something because I don't want to wait until the very end and then forget to bring it up. So I'm gonna step away very quickly.
While he's doing that, let's see, there we go. I'm going to set up for the next section actually because we're going to get into the comic books of the week. I was going to start actually while we're still on movies and TV. Was going to start Bad Batch, but I didn't get a chance to for some odd reason. Even though I know Agent 70 and I talked about it last night. But
yeah, we were not broadcasting last night, folks. It was an unscheduled test run last night.
Right, yeah. OBS updates kind of warranted nowadays. So we figured we'd get that out of the way. But that
and it still caused some delays tonight.
Yeah, just a little bit. Which was weird, but they may be ironed out unless it's something that's going to keep happening until. But
let's hope not, folks.
Yeah.
Let's hope not.
That being the case, we'll go into the comic books of the week. And did you have your?
Yeah. Yes, I am good to go. So here comes our transition into our comic book reviews of the week. Starting with Tiger Division #1 of 5. So this is the first issue of a 5-issue limited series that is written by Emily Kim with art by Kreesley, a personal acquaintance of yours truly, Agent_70. Colors are by Yen Nitro, and letters are by VC's Ariana Maher. This is the first issue, though not the first appearance, of Tiger Division as we've come to know them, a superhero group of Koreans who first appeared in the Jed MacKay written Taskmaster limited series, and this is their first team solo. It's hard to say solo book as a team, but this is their first featured title appearance.
Well, no, the solo appearance checks out because yes, the last couple of appearances were in other people's book, and even as a team was them operating as a team in a fashion was that Black Cat annual, I believe, which was also written by Jed MacKay. So yeah, this is just them by themselves as opposed to kind of being side characters in somebody else's book. So what you said checks out.
Alrighty.
But yeah, I actually
there's a bunch of people making a solo appearance. That's all. It's their lead. It's their first lead appearance. Let's say that's the better way to put it.
Right. We start off with an introduction to the team members, some of which we have seen. Actually, probably most of which we have seen before. Now that I think about it, although one or two of them did not seem familiar from the last two times we saw them. But then again, it has also been a while since we've seen the team. One member of the team, while we do get to see them in their normal form, we don't get to see them in their superhero form. Let's say.
Right. Right. The kind of the coordinator / team leader.
The Nick Fury of the group, if you will.
Right. Kind of.
In a way, yeah.
Right.
But nevertheless, I guess the field lead, who is name, I guess his name, his not superhero name, I can't remember, but his I guess normal name is Taiwan.
Right, Taeguki.
Thank you. I couldn't even remember his superhero, but I guess he's the field lead or the leader of the group.
He's kind of right. What it is that I don't know if he's the field lead, but he's definitely like the stand-in for like the Superman Hyperion type, because he definitely wields the most physical power of everyone involved.
Right.
You'll recognize some of the other characters. Most specifically Luna Snow, who we've seen in several books, Agents of Atlas, issues of the Incredible Hulk, the when Amadeus Cho was running around as a Hulk, so before he turned into Brawn. So.
Right, before Champions, or before the last Champions run, yeah.
Exactly. So, you'll recognize some of these characters. We get a little bit of a look into Taeguki's origin,
right,
which relates all the way back to, believe it or not, a conflict that would significantly affect how we perceive this character's age.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put that. Yes.
Yeah, we're not trying to spoil everything. This book literally came out yesterday. Mm-hmm. Although it is available, my understanding is it's available on the whatchamacallit, Marvel Unlimited.
Oh, is it?
That's my understanding. I think they're offering that as well as another another digital offering.
Sure.
I did see this. I did see the story. I just pulled the app up just to confirm. So if you have any other thoughts, I will confirm that.
I was about to say, I imagine it would be out there digitally, but I didn't think they would just put it directly on Marvel Unlimited.
It's soon.
There. Okay, interesting.
It's there.
So is it like
I
a
think
free
it's just
read?
a matter of them attempting to push it as much as they can.
Right. Because obviously it would be there for you if you bought the digital version, but not, yeah. That's interesting. But yeah, is it free? Because I know sometimes they. Oh, okay.
It definitely is. I have it open right now.
Interesting. Well, but you still have your Marvel Unlimited though.
Correct.
But I was
But the point is, it's free for people with unlimited.
right. No, but
I don't know if it's free for for non-unlimited subscribers.
Right,
correct.
that's what I was asking. Yeah. But either way, hey, give it a try if you have Marvel Unlimited, not a sponsor, just a source. Have at it.
Correct. It's a tool.
Yes.
It's a tool for us, folks.
Indeed. If they want to kick us some money, hey, I'm not gonna say no. Either way, I think
If they kick free subscriptions to us, I'd be happy.
or that, I would. I would also take a load of we won't talk any negatively or positive any more than we already do about what the service is. So that wouldn't do any good for that standard. But
Exactly.
hey, help us, help you, help us, help everybody.
Exactly.
And either way, though, Tiger Edition, I will definitely say I enjoyed reading this book because I've also enjoyed. I guess we could say we both enjoyed Emily Kim's run on Silk, even though she is not. She is not Silk herself is not in this book, obviously. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Emily Kim would be like, "Let me just sneak her in here for a guest spot for a second."
I'm more than willing to bet that might happen down the road. Maybe not in the opening arc.
Well, I mean, this is only a 5-issue miniseries, so it depends on whether they get another arc or so, or
Right.
So,
But ultimately, it's probably more likely. I hate to say it, it's probably more likely we're going to see another Silk limited series before we get another Tiger Division limited series. But that is all dependent on the sales of this one. I also wanted to add, and I think I saw this in Roddykat's notes before we started, that this issue ends with an absolute call out to a sound effect that we have played in abundance. It's always at the ready.
yes.
Cue Admiral Akbar.
Yes.
It's a trap!
So that's how this issue ends.
Yes. But yeah, the main thing is like they were sent out for to look for something that was stolen from them, and yeah, there you go. In addition to, I'm kind of curious as whether we're going to. I would assume we're going to get some more background on other members of the team that we don't know about. Because there are a few, even though
more than a few,
right? But even though they seem to be focusing on, or at least potentially focusing on the lead dude for a subplot. So whether they're going to kind of give a little bit more backstory to a couple of the other characters or not, we will see. But otherwise, it's a good read. Check it out. It's a good read. I'll say that.
Right, and there's definitely some culture and history involved as well.
That is indeed, yes. And with that, excuse me, we can push on to a next book, which is
What's next?
want to do Black Panther?
Sure. Alrighty, Black Panther number 11 is written by John Ridley with art by Herman Peralta, colors by CC De La Cruz, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So if you have been keeping up with Ridley's story, believe it or not, we actually close the story circle in this issue. And I'm talking about where the story began with Ridley's first issue on this volume of Black Panther. So we've come not quite full circle, but pretty close in the 11th issue of his run. And I'll let Roddykat take it from there.
Yeah, without giving too much too much away, I think I saw this being billed as the start of the fall of the Black Panther, to which he kind of already has that start, given the last few issues of the book. So, but I guess this is like the actual downward spiral of it, I suppose. But the way this book the way this this issue kind of plays out, I kind of wonder if there's a sort of a swerve in there. We definitely know there is a swerve in this issue because there was something that was led to be believed from the arc that Agent 70 was talking about that happened that seems to not be the case. That being said, as I say in my notes, the plot of this issue kind of sounds like a Cobra plot. Because as I was reading it, I was like, this is a straight up a G.I. Joe Cobra plot. This is weird. Although a more thought out one, you know, and actually, well, I mean, Cobra's plans does work, you know, due to no fault of the Joes. Anyway,
right. I mean, at the end of the day, I see what you mean. I definitely see the parallel.
Right. Because
it definitely, you know, when you think about it, you know, like taking the 10,000-foot view, you're like, wow, you know, this is something that Destro might have come up with.
Right. Exactly. Probably would have been a little bit more bombastic though, but you know, hey, it is what it is. But yeah, so basically the plot starts with
right. It's not exactly Cold Slither.
It's
folks.
Definitely not Cold Slither. Nothing can be Cold Slither. we should watch that. Anyway,
I mean, Cold Slither I think was Dr. Mindbender, but at the end of the day,
yeah, that sounds right.
You know, it's, you know, we're going off on a G.I. Joe tangent, folks. But it's always fun because that is our network's namesake.
Exactly. But yeah, some unknown folks basically take over the internet, like actually take over the internet. And the Avengers go in to try to stop them.
Things do not work out.
Yes, things do not go out as they think they are, and there's a little headbutting in between members of the Avengers, or at least the ones that are present. That being T'Challa, Captain America, Captain Marvel, and Thor, who are the only ones present. But yeah, there's some headbutting between a couple of those. I feel like we probably shouldn't have to say who, but we won't either way. And I felt like, so this is what I was talking to Agent 70 before the show, and it's like I feel like he might have had something to say about the way that Cap was written here, because it felt kind of weird to me. A little. Although I am not one, I would not be the one to say, well, Cap can be wrong. Cap's not necessarily always on the side. Cap's he's always thinking on the side of right, but sometimes the way he thinks may not necessarily be indicative of how other people thinks. That's neither here nor there in this case. But I felt like this one was a little more antagonistic than Cap normally would ever actually be. And I don't know if that's just my perception of the character or, you know.
I felt like this is something that Ridley's been building over the course of this arc. Whatever interactions that he's had with Captain America. The problem is because, you know, Cap is a character that we've seen in so many other books. You know, we read his book, we read Sam's book, we also read Avengers. So, and we've read Judgment Day. So, you know, we all have, you know, somewhat different, we've seen different takes on Cap and his leadership and his, you know, character just in the last month and a half or 2 months, right? So I see what Roddykat is getting at, but I feel like Ridley has developed this particular interaction because it's based off of the current events in Wakanda. Right?
Sure.
It's literally these characters playing off of themselves, each other, and what's happening in Wakanda and what's been revealed, and what he's building up to.
Right.
And you know, it's one thing where we have to kind of deal with writers who write characters a certain way to fulfill the writer's goals. Right. It's another thing for a writer to take a character and completely change the nature of the character to fit into their, you know, to fit their need. And I don't know if that's exactly what Ridley's doing here, but I see how he's gotten there. So it's not completely out of the blue.
Right. See that, which brings up a question of something which I won't necessarily go into right now because it'll be a kind of a long, drawn out stream of consciousness about.
And it may come, I was about to say, and hold that thought, it may come into more distinct relief in the next issue. Because that's what's teased.
Possibly, right, with the teaser at the end of the book, right. But like I said, it kind of is a curious thing because even on this show, we've talked about the fact that, well, this character was written this kind of way and this character was written that kind of way, and not our perception of the character versus, what's the intent of the author, or all kinds of things of that nature. So it's a curious conversation to have on that, which, like I said, that is not a conversation for right now, because it's like, well, is it like, as Agent 70 said, like, while the writer is fitting the character into the story, or vice versa in some cases? Because let's face it, there's a recent issue of a speaking of Captain America, there's a recent issue of a Captain America that was like the character was, let's say, some would argue, artificially bumped up in their prowess in dealing with the Black Panther, come to think of it.
Oh yeah. That jumped out at me. I brought that up right away.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, I
was like, wait a second.
Right. So it's like, and we get it. Like, it's his book, so you kind of have to, you kind of have to,
yeah, it's not exactly Dwayne Johnson being contractually obligated to win every fight he's in, but it's close.
Right. But it's like, but even then, it was like that fight should not have gone the way it did in that situation. But nevertheless, again, that kind of goes back to, well, perception of the character or intent of. But no, especially given the history of the character, like, it's even with the training that we know he's had, doesn't seem like it would go that easily,
right?
Or that easily matched, I should say. But like I said, conversation for another time. Back to this Black Panther book. In closing, I'm looking forward to seeing what the next issue is going to bring and what that whole last bit is going to bear out. And another side thing that I guess was brought up, or a side person that was brought up during the course of this issue, that may or may not have anything to do with what's going on.
Right. I'd be curious to see if this ends up being a 12-issue, like a solid 12-issue arc, where, you kind of have, 2 6-issue trade paperbacks to really build a solid, first like kind of greater story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, let's see if this 12th issue really, brings this opening Ridley story to some kind of satisfying close.
Right. That being said, we can move.
Next up.
What's next?
Let's see. Did you have another one that you actually wanted to, or?
Well, let me see what else we have in common. Do you want to talk about? We don't have that much left in common. We have choices of She-Hulk, Secret Invasion, or X-Men Red.
Secret Invasion. I feel like I could have something to say about X-Men Red, but at the same time, like, nah, we're gonna let that one run for itself. That's something that we can cover in rapid fire. Right.
So X-Men Red number 8 is written by Al Ewing with
Secret Invasion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't scroll up far enough. You know what? I don't have my credits for Secret Invasion, although I did read it.
I got
so let me scroll down to your notes. That's why I didn't see it.
Right.
Secret Invasion number 1. I apologize, folks. It's written by Ryan North with art by Francesco Mobili, colors by Jordi Belair, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So Roddykat and I, we mentioned earlier that we were on last night doing some test runs and some testing, And, we talked about some of the books that we were planning to read in advance of today's show. One of them we were kind of unsure about was Secret Invasion #1. And we were, we kind of talked about how it makes some sense that Marvel Publishing would put out a book titled Secret Invasion well in advance of the actual MCU television show, which has already been announced, and we've gotten some casting news about it. So it makes some sense that they would put out a comic book in advance of it and kind of reprime the pump for, who do you trust type of storytelling, in the Marvel universe. And what's funny about it is that they actually bring up in this issue some of the problems that we have when it comes to dealing with, although I may be confusing this a little bit with X-Men Red, which is why it was kind of front and center on my mind. Because X-Men Red also has some Skrull issues in it. And I think that's why it was front and center on my mind, because I think X-Men Red, more so than Secret Invasion, really dealt with some of my questions about why Secret Invasion would even be relevant right now, because of the current status of the Skrull Empire.
Okay.
Right? So,
Sure.
But getting back to Secret Invasion, it basically lays out with characters that we know are active in the MCU a new version of a Who Do You Trust storyline. And I'll let Roddykat pick it up from there.
So yeah, like I just sort of said, this definitely is priming the pump for the show, which is not coming out until next year, which is the thing we were kind of was like, okay, this is a little early for that. But I guess this is not the first time we have seen something like this happen in the recent months, where like, hey, this property is not gonna show itself in the MCU for a minute, and here we are early on, well before that. But nevertheless, there is a curiosity here for me in this, because like, as some might know, Secret Invasion was a 2000, what'd you say it was? Just a 2008 storyline.
2008.
Where pretty much the Skrulls were planted in different in key places in the Marvel universe, and there was, like Agent 7 said, also it was a Who Do You Trust thing going on through the whole thing. I believe that was Bendis's baby throughout
Correct.
the whole thing, and some folks was brought back into the fold, so to speak, and are used in a certain way during that. In this,
I also wanted to make note
okay,
that it is one of a 5-issue limited series. So if you think about it, there'll be 2 issues here in the year 2022, and there'll be 3 more issues in 2023. So the timing kind of fits, unless maybe we're on the heels of another Secret Invasion miniseries to help really bring it up to the timeline of the show, to the release of the show. Do you know what I mean?
oh, like they're setting up an event.
Right.
No, it's possible. It's quite possible.
Right. Just to in a sense to prime the pump, as we said, it makes sense that they would have some type of Secret Invasion title on the rack, on shelves, that is, just prior to the release of the show. So there'll be 3 more issues, more than likely in 2023.
Yeah, but I think the show still doesn't come out until like later in the year.
24?
No, later in 23.
2023.
Yeah, like November. I'm wrong, because I know I saw when it was the potential release, but I don't remember. So now I have to look that up. Either way, back to this book though. So the curious things about this book is like, okay, there is a certain bit of MCUification in this, in the fact that we definitely get, I don't know if you read it the same way I did, but Nick Fury Jr.'s voice here sounded very much like Samuel Jackson.
Right.
And it is Nick Fury Jr., because let's face it, Nick Fury Sr. is still around as of recent Fantastic Four, although he's a little bit more cosmic at this point. But and actually, yeah, and even then, because when Nick Fury Jr. in the comics now was a little bit more bulkier than this particular Nick Fury is in this book, so they are definitely getting a little bit more into Samuel L. Jackson's Fury. Now, the thing I was questioning for a good minute was the characterization of Maria Hill, who also shows up in this book, who was also a part of Secret Wars initially, but, and I guess seemingly is by the end of this issue, the main character because of what happens in this issue.
Right.
And it was kind of interesting in that respect because the last few times we've seen Maria Hill was a little bit more gruff, more, I would say, more closer to how Abigail Brand is in X-Men at this point, which we'll get to that in a little bit. But and we hadn't seen her in a minute because she has done some things. So it was kind of weird to see her interactions with this Nick Fury in this book, is they're all like chummy, like almost like the MCU versions of Maria Hill and Nick Fury.
I was going to say that's definitely an MCUification of the relationship.
Right. So it was interesting but that being said, as far as the story is concerned, it definitely took a turn that I guess I should have expected. Let's put it that way. With what happened. So the only thing I will say is that Nick Fury was sent out on a call, or was sent out to investigate some Skrull behavior or some Skrull-like behavior that did and didn't turn out to be what it was described, let's just say. And then it kind of took a turn from there. But
yeah, the tables kind of get turned. We'll put it that way.
So I'm like, okay, because I was kind of wondering, I was like, all right, we've done Secret Invasion before. They're going to have to flip it some kind of way, and it did and it didn't, I would say. Because if you've read Secret Invasion initially, and admittedly, I have not read the whole thing on Secret Invasion originally. I do know of the finer points of it and some characters that come along, which I don't think is possibly going to be happening here, because I think we've even seen one of those characters in the past year, but that may or may not mean anything. So I assume whatever happened, what has happened at the end of this issue is going to go into the way of flipping the script, even though, like I said, it kind of doesn't, because some of the same things that happened in Secret Wars originally seemingly are happening in this book. Without, like I said, going into it too much. So, and I feel like we was like, okay, you could almost see, at least at the end of this issue, there's some characters that show up. You can almost see, it's like, well, clearly it's got to be either this person. It's got to be this person. But that might not be the case. Could be a swerve. Who's it to say? Nevertheless, we would definitely be keeping track on this book. It's only 5 issues, and like I said, if it is indeed the primer for the show, like we believe it is, we shall see some things that we'll probably see similarities in when that show finally comes up, whenever that happens.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, though.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into rapid fire now, because we have, surprisingly a number of books to get through this week that we do not have in common.
Sure.
Ready?
Go for it.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Alrighty, so let me cover the books that we do have in common, and then we will diverge. First up is She-Hulk #7. It's written by Rainbow Rowell, with art by Luca Maresca, colors by Rico Renzi, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So we start basically directly following up on the events of She-Hulk #6 with Jack of Hearts and She-Hulk. But that is a lot of personal relationship stuff, and that's great. We actually have a little bit of legal stuff in this issue, which brings in some characters that Rainbow Rowell actually dealt with in another series that she wrote for Marvel for the better part of a few years.
Yes, I enjoyed that book, actually.
So you got around to reading it.
What? Oh, wait, what are you, we might be talking about different books?
Runaways.
Oh, no. No, I was thinking of...
You're thinking about AI.
Right, Avengers AI.
Right. So I was thinking of Runaways because of that one character,
Right.
but I see what you mean.
Right.
Because they do, I thought that was an Al Ewing book, that AI
I
book.
believe it was, actually. So, yeah, but that character was also involved in that book.
Right.
So, and yeah.
Right.
Now, that being said, I actually do plan on reading Runaways because of recent books that we've read, particularly the Midnight Suns book also has me curious about it. But nevertheless.
All right. And I just wanted to add that Rainbow Rowell actually brings a little bit of storytelling, again, not full circle, but back into, like without leaving a dangling plot line. This plot line is again picked after a few issues off. And interestingly enough, it leaves this issue on a cliffhanger.
Again, and also feels a little bit MCU-ification of sorts.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit, especially in the wake of the TV show.
Exactly, because if that's going the way it seemed like it's going at the end of this issue, it's almost direct.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, next up, I think the last book that we have in common is X-Men Red #8. It's written by Al Ewing with art by a name that I hadn't seen before. So I remember when I was typing out my credits, I was like, wow, I've never seen this name before. First off, it's a name that we are familiar with. This book is written by Al Ewing, but with art by Madibek Musibekov. Colors are by Federico Blee and letters by VC's Ariana Maher. So we have the return of some characters we have not seen in a while. It was interesting to see Ewing bring back some characters from Guardians of the Galaxy that we have not seen in a long while. Yep. I also wanted to, remind everyone that some of that Skrull talk, which is, there's a reason why this issue and that Secret Invasion book kind of got jumbled in my brain, because there are definitely hints of the current status of the Skrull Empire mixing into my thinking about, how the Secret Invasion book might play. And, it kind of refreshed my memory as to what the state of the Empire is, given some of the refresher that we get in X-Men Red #8, because this is, if you recall, pre-Judgment Day, dealing with space stuff around Arakko. And there are some developments here, interstellar politics stuff that is kind of revisited that we have not really seen in a while because of the crossover stuff. I also wanted to, I'll give Roddykat a chance to give his thoughts. I wanted to make a quick mention of an Easter egg in the issue. There is a roster of the galactic, I forget if it's like a galactic council or a galactic, it's not exactly the Galactic Senate, folks. It's not Star Wars, but there's like a council that meets in this book that has met, since Arakko was founded, and Storm was placed as the Regent of Sol, if I recall correctly. So Richard Rider is there as a representative of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's a little note in there about how he stood, and the Arakko people see him as one of them because of the way he stood during Judgment Day.
Right. And I know Agent 70.
I kind of got a chuckle out. I was like, okay, I see that.
I know you did because I read that. I was like, yeah, Agent 70 is gonna love that.
I mean, and obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of the character, but I am a big fan of the way they actually developed the character in Annihilation. And once Roddykat finally read that, he understood where I was coming from. Where I was like, wait a second, we can't take this character backwards.
Right.
So, but anyway, go ahead.
So the only thing I'll say is like this is pretty much Al Ewing bring together some things from his run in the last 4 or 5 years. Let's just say, just to give it a nice big number, because there's some Empire stuff. There's like you said, Guardians of the Galaxy. There's all this X-Men stuff here. All just kind of coming together here into one little thing, which we love that about Al Ewing because he likes to play with his toys in any way. But if I didn't know any better, it was like you would think he had been planning this since well before Empire. The way some of this is coming off, but I don't know if or maybe he did. I don't know. I don't know the man's brain. But tying into Araco stuff with the whole cosmic the cosmic makeup that we have here, it's kind of interesting. But the crux of this issue is after last issue of WizKid and Cable basically finding out what Abigail Brand was up to. Cable goes out on a recruitment drive to kind of go against her. And that, as they say, doesn't necessarily go as planned, as we find out at the end of this issue. Because, hey, Abigail Brand is she's a good chess player.
It's interesting that it feels like it's taken a long time to develop, but because of the tie-in issues and all that stuff, that we really have not seen this develop. So it's great to see that part of the story come back.
And again,
we've seen this pre X-Men Red. I wanted to mention that.
Right. Again, Empire, because I believe that at the end of Empire, that's when we start seeing her shades, of her going for her stuff. So,
exactly.
Which, as I just said, well before X-Men Red. So
right, and it's interesting that Cable is the character that actually, kind of voices the thoughts of the reader, because we're not 100% sure what Brand's endgame here is.
Right.
Cable actually, lays out what the cases, what the situation could be, what Brand might be planning, and it could be double crossing, triple crossing, quadruple crossing. So it's fairly up in the air, and that's Ewing's doing for. And I made an accidental rhyme there. Whether or not what we think is going to happen actually will happen.
I don't know. It's part of it feels kind of clear though. That it feels like she's making a big power play, whether for herself or for, as she like to say, for Soul, for Earth,
right?
Or that part of the ghetto, because she says herself she's a space kid. So whether she's making this play for her part of space or for the Earth at large, as what it sounds like at the end of this, who's to say?
Or if it's supposed to be kind of anti-Krakoa, it's hard to say.
Right.
Hard to say at this point. All right. Next up, so moving on to books that we do not have in common. First up is Batman number 129. It's written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Jorge Jimenez, with colors by Tomo Mori, and letters by Clayton Cowell. So, in short, this is the latest chapter in Batman versus his I don't want to give it all away, because by the what he's up against is literally what we would all call this type of plan, right? Because what he's up against is something of his own making, and it comes up because he does what originally had been unthinkable for Batman, or at least is alleged to have committed. It turns out he'd never committed it, but this plan doesn't realize that. And the plan is laying waste to basically the entire Justice League, the entire Batman family, and is taking Gotham basically hostage. So I will leave it at that. If you're interested in this, pick it up. The art by Jorge Jimenez is pretty solid on this book. Speaking of art being, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The only thing I was going to say was like it seems similar to I guess a noted Justice League story. If
Yes.
Of a
Yes.
similar
It's definitely it definitely has echoes of that story.
Yeah.
It definitely rhymes with that story.
Yes.
But it's a different type of mechanism. The delivery mechanism is different.
Right.
Speaking of solid art, Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo #1 of 7. This is a Black Label book. It's written and with art by Mark Silvestri of X-Men and Cyberforce fame. Colors are by Arif Prianto and letters are by Troy Pateri. So it's not a spoiler. It's been teased in solicitations, and it's obviously in the title that Batman and the Joker will find a reason to quote unquote team up. And the premise for why they team up is laid out here in this issue. And we have yet to find out who the antagonist is in the story, but this is the first issue of a 7-issue limited series. So I'm sure Silvestri is teasing that out for a little bit at least. It's a pretty straightforward opening issue, but ultimately you're here for the art, and it's pretty solid. Next up is Avengers Forever #10. It's written by Jason Aaron with art by Jim Toe, colors by Guru EFX, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. This is not quite the final issue of setting up the pillars of the Avengers and getting all of their, like kind of going through their variants, their alternates throughout the universe. And if you're new to the concept of this series, this is about gathering a multiversal group of Avengers to finish up Jason Aaron's run. And this is a Tony Stark centric issue. So I think Roddykat is eventually going to catch up on this. So I don't want to spoil too much, but that's the crux of this issue. Next up is Captain Marvel #43. It's written by Kelly Thompson with pencils by Sergio Davila, inks by Sean Parsons, colors by Arif Prianto, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. This is a fun issue. It involves Carol getting back to trying to live her life. Rhodey is there, and if you are unfamiliar with Captain Marvel and Rhodey, aka War Machine, right now, they are a romantic item. And their plans to spend time together do not happen because of superhero hijinks that involve the X-Men. And if you are unfamiliar with Carol Danvers's long and somewhat convoluted comic book history, she has had several adventures with various X-Men.
One in particular.
One in particular who plays a role in this issue, but there's also some spacefaring involved. And if you've been keeping up with this Captain Marvel book, an aspect of Carol has become a character of her own. And that does play some part in the story. So if you want to keep up, and this is, it's kind of cool to see some characters play in the sandbox with other characters that you don't normally see them play with outside of like big crossovers. It's kind of fun to see, in this issue, right? It's kind of like an old school Marvel team up, right? Without the premise of a big crossover story. Next up, Deadpool #1. It's another #1 issue. It's written by Alyssa Wong with art by Martin Coccolo, colors by Neeraj Menon, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So Deadpool is back with all of the fourth wall breaking that you expect. Interestingly enough, there is a concept here that is relatively, I did not have a chance to look this up. I did not recognize the concept here that Deadpool is essentially trying to join an elite group of assassins, and he's given a test. The test is to take out a very established Marvel character, but in the meantime, Deadpool is sidetracked by something completely wacky that ties into the King in Black story of all things. And it's just a big issue full of hijinks and comedy. So if you are a Deadpool fan, I think you're going to have a lot of fun reading this issue. Next up is Hulk number 10. I read a lot this week. It's written by Donny Cates with pencils by Ryan Ottley, inks by Cliff Rathburn, colors by Sonia Obak and Marte Gracia, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. This is the latest issue in Cates's run, and it's a play on Planet Hulk. It's Hulk Planet, but he brings what he reveals in this issue is that this involves fallout from a recent story, and that story basically begets this story. And I pretty much mean that literally. So the ramifications from a previous arc, let's say the arc prior to that whole Thor crossover,
Banner of War.
Yes, I was going to say the whole Thor crossover, Banner of War. Thank you for the name. That arc prior to that Banner of War story comes back into play in this. It's revealed that it comes back into play in this issue.
Which was a weird arc, but
right. But it's when you read it, you'll see how it all ties in. Right. And there is an interesting cliffhanger at the end, and it's bound to continue to be part of Kate's story going forward. Next up is Predator number 4. It's written by Ed Brisson with art by Kev Walker, colors by Frank Darmada, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. This issue has Theta, the protagonist of this story so far, taking on some predators that have ambushed her. Things do not go well, but at the end of this particular story, there is a twist and newer characters introduced at the end of the story, which definitely will take the story in a very different direction than I thought it was going to go. And I'll leave it at that.
Is this character kind of like Vasquez from Aliens 2? I guess I don't know if you remember.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Don't remember.
Okay. Just curious.
Don't remember. And that's it for me because I've covered all the other books.
Alrighty then. And for myself, we start off with, which I won't give too much away. Actually, oh man, I knew I forgot something. TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures number 2. Story by Eric Burnham, art by Tim Laddie, colors by Sarah Meyer, and letters by Jake M. Wood. So, I think this story kind of breaks the fourth wall in definite one way, and gets a little tropey, intentionally tropey in another way. I will not spoil it because I know I see that the Benji Games 2 has also picked this book up. But it is still a fun story, dealing with Shredder wanting something and getting some help to get it, and the Turtles becoming involved, and shenanigans ensue because of said device. Let's just say. And that's not even really giving it away because that's just kind of like the start of it. But it's another kind of one and done story, just like the last one was. It is also called For Those Who Are About to Rock, which I was gonna pull that sound effect, but I chose not to. Actually, I forgot in leading up to this program. I mean, into this to the show. But that's fine. You know what I'm talking about.
You mean the AC/DC song?
Yes.
There we go.
So, but I didn't pull it, and I feel sad about that. But nevertheless, the spirit is still there. But it's fun, just like the last issue was. And I think if you, again, like I said with that last one, if you enjoyed the 90s, the 80s Turtles show, this feels like something that probably could have gone there. Although I'm pretty sure they would have changed it just a little bit, giving a couple of things that I won't go into, let's just say, that are kind of amusingly done here. Anywho's, next book for me is Magic the Gathering number 20, which ends, boop, there we go, which pretty much ends one storyline and starts up another one, and I have to be careful about the clicking I'm doing because I don't want to cut off the show. Let's see, written by Jed McKay, illustrated by Ed Guara, Jacques Salmon, and Breno Tamura, with colors by Ariana Consani and Breno Tamura. So, like I said, this ends the arc, the arc of the last chapter, or this last chapter with Ravnica being invaded, and the heroes being left out, but that was all taken care of as of last issue. There was a big battle on a couple of fronts with a resolution, but at the end of it, is starting up with everything kind of sort of getting back to number, starts off another arc or another story at the very least, going at the end of this, dealing with a planeswalker that was being used in a sense during the course of this story, and had a side story that a couple of months ago that may be possibly getting front and center, but we will see what the plans they have to do with this person. My next book is Star Wars number 29. I did not get to that Star Trek book. There we go. So this is the beach episode. In a way, because when I first read it, I was like, wait, is this an anime now? What's going on here? But this is written by Charles Soule, art by Ramon Rosanas, colors by Rachel Rosenberg, and the letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So Holdo, Admiral Holdo, well, I guess she's not Admiral at this point, I don't think. Or maybe she is, I don't know. But Leia's friend Holdo, who we have seen in the sequel movies, or in a sequel movie, I should say, basically tells Leia and crew, hey, they need some rest and relaxation. So she takes them over to a friend's house because she also has money, just like Leia does. But it's also a slight ulterior motive because they end up going after a piece of tech that is a holdover from the High Republic. That also gets them into a little bit of trouble with the Empire, and as I say at the in my notes, at the end of it, they're going on an adventure because of that. So, also Luke's apparently getting a little bit more in control of the Force. So yeah, you never want to smell a wet Wookiee. Also, nevertheless. That is that book. It was fun. Let's see. And my last book is The Never to Die, probably. Well, we'll see how this goes. But Savage Avengers number 7. All new, all different Savage Avengers as the title goes. The creative team is written by David Pepos. Art by Carlos Magno, color artist Espen Grundigen, and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So, they are stuck in the world of 2099, but I believe this is kind of an offshoot 2099, although I'm not going to sit here and act like I remember 2099 all that well. But last issue kind of set up the fact that actually I need to go back and see something here. No, I was right. Okay. The last issue pretty much gave a little bit of backstory into how the world came into be, and I don't recall it being that way. But there is a little bit of a wrinkle that has to do with Hank Pym's invention, Ultron, who apparently has taken over, and some Deathlocks. Almost Terminator fashion, but not really. We have Punisher 2099 that is now involved in this, who's in this issue kind of switches allegiances, you might say. But they don't necessarily go up against Ultron. They go up against another organism that is designed for killing. A variation of a said organism that is designed for killing, let's just say. That may have been melded with a Deathlock. So you take that for what it is. And at the end of this, well, we get a couple more. I guess we get a couple more 2099 characters coming into the fold for good or for ill, especially one at the end of this who, not surprising to see being around in 2099, let's say. And I believe they had their own book in that original run of 2099. So that's not, wouldn't be a surprise that they'd still be around. Also, I have said 2099 a whole lot, and that during the talk of this book. More than probably has been done in the last probably 10 years. So, I don't know. I was never a real big fan of the 2099 verse. So, who's to say? And that, folks, is it for me. We can go into Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
We did get one from, I think we got it from Tim, actually.
Yes.
And that was Batman 129, because I believe that was all he read.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's his choice.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a busy man,
his
so
call. Yep.
It's kind of it happens that way. This was an interesting week, I will say, because there was some good stuff. It's kind of one of those weeks where it's like, yeah, there's some good stuff, but nothing that really stood completely out.
Same. So it's a bit of a challenge this week to come up with a Kliq of the week. So yeah, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but that's generally the gist of it. We're going to try to come up with a good enough choice for our Kliqs of the week this week. Do you have any contenders?
Yes, and actually, before I even get to those, I'm going to read something from the chat because this seems to be the time to do that.
Sure.
Benji Games 2 says that his pickups their pickups for the week are Predator number 4, TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures number 2, Kevin Smith's Quick Stops number 1, that was the one I alluded to, was curious about checking out. DC's Terrors Through Time, Hell to Pay number 1, which we had talked about yesterday.
Yes, I skimmed that book. It was interesting, but I couldn't stick with it, but I was probably just too tired to read it.
Right. And Night of the Ghoul number 2. So, a couple of good picks. I need to catch up on Predator. As I was telling Agent 70 last night, I'm like, yeah, I need to do it, and I should have, but I had to catch up on a couple other books. For today. That being said, yeah, TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures would be one for me. She-Hulk number 7, kind of, because even though it was like, okay, Jack and Jen, they were being so cute, it was sickening. It was like, all right, enough already. And we don't even know where that story is going, and the other side of that story is like, well, like I said, that seems kind of an obscurification, but we will, I guess that'll be confirmed next issue. Not necessarily a good or bad thing, just saying it is. Star Wars 29 was also a pretty decent one. Tiger Division was a good start.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
You know what?
it.
I think I've got one.
Okay, what you got?
I think because it kind of tugged on the nostalgia strings and I basically had a pretty good time reading it, I am going to go with Captain Marvel number 43.
Which is another book we have talked about.
Right. I've had some good experiences with Captain Marvel over the last several months. So it's no surprise that, with the start of a new arc, this, and kind of taking Carol back to some of her X-Men related roots kind of, really struck a chord with me as a longtime X-Men fan. I definitely rival our very own at TimDog98 as a X-Men fan. My uncanny run is, goes back to Dark Phoenix. So, I'm familiar with all those stories, and this definitely, Carol's time with the X-Men covers the time after that. So, I'm going to go with Captain Marvel number 43.
Okay. Solid. I think for myself, I'm probably going to go. I think I'm gonna go with Star Wars 29. Actually, interesting enough. Like I said, I enjoyed the TMNT story. It was fun. I wish there was a couple of other that probably would have changed had I gotten to a couple other books because I am definitely behind. I know that Time Before Time book came out this week, and I really wanted to read that, and realized that I was behind in a couple of issues. And that Transformers Shattered Glass book also. It's kind of fun from what I read. Like I said, Secret Invasion is kind of a wait and see. So that's why I didn't want to really pick that one. But yeah,
sure.
Star Wars number 29 is my click. And we're going to go into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron and Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron has fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us, that's cspn.us, then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And as we do about this time, we get into the cinematic news. First up, actress Catherine Langford addresses Marvel return from cut Avengers Endgame. Actress Catherine Langford addresses Marvel return. So I believe this was the person who was supposed to play. Oh, okay. No, I was wrong. This was supposed to play the older version of Morgan Stark, which is Tony Stark's child with Pepper in the MCU. It says here during the cutscene, you know what? I'm not even going to say, but basically there's a cutscene from that movie, and the actress recently did a Q&A on Instagram where she revealed that she doesn't have any answers as to whether she's going to be returning or not. Quote, I don't have an answer, and I couldn't tell you if I did. Marvel Snipers. Hashtag.
Yeah.
Langford revealed on Instagram. Either way, it was an honor being asked to play Morgan. RDJ left an incomparable legacy as Iron Man. And boy, did they spell that wrong in this article. Well, no, they didn't. But anyway. And I love that guy of 3000. So that's that. Next up,
MCU Zemo actor Daniel Bruhl has addressed his absence from the Thunderbolts movie cast and what may be in store for his character in the future. So we know that in the comic books, Zemo is an integral part of the introduction of the Thunderbolts concept. but the way the MCU has adapted it does not seem to involve Zemo, at least at first. So it's interesting that in a recent interview with RadioTimes.com, Brule addressed his absence from the upcoming team-up film. Without saying any details, Brule implied that he will indeed return to the MCU, but does not give an indication on when or if Thunderbolts is that project. Okay. And the one thing he says is the only thing he can say, everybody knows, is that he is not dead.
Yes. Dancing in some European club somewhere, surely.
Pretty much.
Eternals confirmed to be returning to the MCU, apparently. Which, okay, we kind of figured that would be the case, but we just did not know when. And according to this, I don't think we still know when. Because... says Nate Moore, the producer of Black Panther Wakanda Forever and VP of Productions at Marvel Studios, spoke with Comic.com. He was asked about the future of the Eternals characters and whether or not an outright sequel is on the way. He says, a quote, I don't want to spoil anything, but we have not seen the last of those characters, end quote. It's not clear whether the Eternals characters will show up again. They need to show up in their other a sequel to explain what the hell happened at the end of their movie, because you just can't leave that out there like that. Or they might. Who's to say? Either way, though it is expected by many, the confirmation is an exciting promise of a future for the characters. Sure, I guess. Next up.
So, this ties into something we're going to talk about this episode anyway. That being that next week we are going to be observing movie protocols for the Comic Book Chronicles, because, believe it or not, and I said that exactly the way the old show would.
Way to go.
Wakanda Forever is actually right on the door. We're on the doorstep of watching this, folks. It's out next week. So next Thursday night, we will be observing movie protocol. And in advance of that, the story is, basically Nate Moore, producer of Wakanda Forever. Actually, no, Nate Moore is an MCU guy. Right. I don't know if he's listed as a producer.
Well, he probably is a producer also.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in a recent interview with Slash Film, Nate Moore was asked if Namor would always be the sequel's villain. Oh, yeah, he is a producer. I apologize, folks. It's right there in the story. He revealed that Ryan Coogler, the director, had been planning the Submariner's introduction since 2018's Black Panther was in early post-production, and the director even called, quote-unquote, dibs on the character. So, that's very old school.
Right. So, sure. All right. I believe it.
I do too.
But for those who may be newer to the Comic Book Chronicles and don't know what movie protocol is, it's pretty much stands to reason. We will definitely not be recording Thursday night, because one and or both of us separately will probably be going to the movies that night to watch said movie. So sometimes that happens, but we will definitely just stay tuned to our social medias to find out. Keep the notifications on to find out when we record. Likely it'll probably be the next night unless something happens. Right.
It usually is the next night. It's usually the Friday. It's usually the following night. But every once in a while, life gets in the way, and we have to push it to the Saturday.
Or
the following Saturday night. Bottom line, though, is that next Thursday night we will not be recording our regularly scheduled Comic Book Chronicles, because I'm definitely going to be in the movies. Because that's when Roddykat is, has a little bit more flexibility in terms of timing. He has the ability to catch maybe an afternoon show, but I will definitely be in the movie theater watching this movie, Wakanda Forever, during the time that we would normally be broadcasting and recording.
Yep. So, like I said, keep it locked, stay tuned, we'll keep you posted. Next up, though, I guess this has been confirmed, but Marvel's Wonder Man cast Yahya Abdul-Mateen II to lead Disney Plus series. We talked about this last week as being rumored to be the case, as he's been talks to it. I don't think there's still been any confirmation from Marvel, but a lot of places, including like Variety and Deadline, have been picking this up. So I guess you can say with a shred more credibility that is the case. Unless Marvel happens to come out and be like, nah, y'all chased the goose. But yeah. So I guess Black Manta is now part of the Marvel universe as a hero. If this is still the case. Which, like I said, sure.
Right, and Dr. Manhattan.
And Dr. Manhattan, yes, I forgot. Keep forgetting he did that because I've not watched Watchmen. So...
you haven't watched HBO Watchmen?
Nope. I hadn't watched. Actually, I didn't watch neither one. Actually, now that I think about it, I hadn't watched the movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That's going to be. Oh, it says it's. Oh wait, no. Oh yeah, he said he's going to be back for that next Aquaman movie, which is currently scheduled for Christmas 2023, unless his recent comments, have put him out of favor, but. That would be still hilarious. And I don't know when Wonder Man's going to happen, but since it's just got things, it probably won't be 2020 until 2024 sometime. Next up.
All right, next up, Intrepid reporters found that the Writers Guild of America West directory has basically confirmed that Megan McDonnell, who wrote the 3rd and 4th episodes of WandaVision and the script for next year's The Marvels Captain Marvel movie, will be joining the Disney Plus Phase 5 spin-off, Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Okay.
Speaking of that show, Heartstopper star Joe Locke joins the spin-off as, I guess, an undisclosed character. Exact plot details, including the character Locke will play, are being kept under wraps. So yeah, we don't really know. And Marvel hasn't commented on this either, but hey,
Right.
As to
right.
That, but
in the same right. I was about to say, following up in the same exact vein, some more casting news. Variety's reporting that Aubrey Plaza is also joining Catherine Hahn in Agatha Coven of Chaos as an undisclosed character.
We were talking about this last night. Agent 70 has a speculation, which that sounds plausible to me. I don't know if he wants to go into it.
I mean, not a specific
Well,
character.
no. But what kind of character she might be playing?
Oh, very witchy.
Yeah. So
she has very witchy type vibes. She can give off those kind of vibes. So
way to say it. Also, so some people know she's already done some Marvel work with, or technically done some Marvel work with Legion. So, which I still have not seen. So
same.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay, I know you watched Runaways.
I haven't watched any X-related things in ages.
Right, but you did watch. That.
I don't even think I've watched all. I don't think I've watched whatchamacallit, the Apocalypse movie, all the way through.
Actually,
I think I watched like a few minutes of it.
Pretty sure I hadn't either, actually, or I might have and I just blanked it out. Who knows? Wait, but you did watch Runaways, right?
Yeah, but that's not really X-related.
I know, but I'm saying, but it's still Marvel related. And so,
yeah, exactly. I watched Runaways and Cloak and Dagger.
Oh, right. I forgot about that one. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Venom 3 sets up Kelly Marcel as director. For some reason, they're doing this.
Actually, no, we skipped the story, folks.
Wait.
Yeah, you skipped one.
Oh, right. I know. Okay. Yeah. Vision series starring Paul Bettany is in the works at Marvel Studios. This was first rumor.
That's kind of big.
Yeah, well,
that's kind of big.
It still feels kind of rumory, but like the Deadline is reporting this, so I feel like it's a little bit more credible because like this started out as a rumor in the beginning of since last show, but seems to be legitimately happening, and not surprising given what happened at the end of WandaVision, because that was kind of a loose end. that wasn't sure where that was going to show back up again, presuming this is where they're going to go. So, or presuming they're
And
going.
what's fun,
Yeah.
what I was going to say is I'm surprised that Roddykat skipped over this because this is a wacko storyline.
Well, no, I didn't. It wasn't intentional. When I was putting the links together, I skipped over that one for some stupid reason. So.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that's why I was surprised. I was like, how did you forget that? I was like, how did you skip over that one? That's a wacko storyline.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up because it's a wacko story that they kind of done already. Part of.
Yes, they've done part of it.
So
part of it was in WandaVision.
Right. And matter of fact, it was one would say the bulk part of it, with the exception of, no, actually, yeah, that was the bulk part of it because like the whole thing with the whole third storyline was like, yeah, Vision related and what happens to him, which again, WandaVision already took care of. Everything after that is kind of like,
Right. I mean, ultimately, what we're finding out, and this is something that we've seen in all of, all of our MCU related adaptations, is that the title may be exactly what may be exactly the same as it was in the comics, but the adaptation will not be.
Right.
So it makes sense that they would use a title that is catchy. And obviously brings up some nostalgia for comic fans, but they're going to take this in a vastly different direction, more than likely based on the effects of the WandaVision, the arc that the Vision had during the WandaVision series.
Right. I mean, it's at most a very I wouldn't say literal, but there will probably be the title means definitely is definitely coming off of the storyline, the comic book storyline, and WandaVision because of what happened, and like I said, but also could be a veritable quest because of what happened, trying to figure out who he is. So what that's going to entail, how that's going to entail, no, we don't know yet. We'll find out.
All right, next up, so after writing the screenplay for both Venom and its sequel, Venom Let There Be Carnage, Kelly Marcel is stepping up to the director role for the third film based on the Marvel antihero. Deadline reports that sources close to the film's production have confirmed Marcel is set to direct the movie. She will also serve as producer alongside Tom Hardy, who plays Eddie Brock and the titular symbiote. Okay.
Again, don't know why this is happening, but whatever. Cameron Crowe.
Listen, people went to go see it, so they're gonna make another one.
I mean, people go see a lot of things. That doesn't necessarily mean they need to.
Hey, neither of us went to see it, but people did.
Yeah. Cameron Crowe wants to shoot an X-Men film about one specific mutant. If you're watching the video version, you already know who that is. It's Dazzler, folks. Crowe expressed interest in helming a spin-off starring the lesser-known superhero in an interview with Rolling Stone. Quote, throw me a Dazzler movie, let's do it, which I feel like this is probably not the first person to actually want to make that claim, interestingly enough. The filmmaker named English singer-songwriter Dua Lipa as his top pick to play Dazzler. I feel like folks in the know what her powers are, so we don't necessarily need to go over that. But yeah, she sings, she dances, she lights up the place, literally. Let's see, doing a movie like that would be a blast, as he added. So yeah, I don't know whether it will happen. Who's to say? But he put it out in the universe. Next up.
So, this story contains direct spoilers. They're not consequential spoilers, but they are spoilers for one of the stories in the anthology animated series Star Wars Tales of the Jedi that explores much of the Filoniverse. And so Star Wars Tales of the Jedi creator Dave Filoni explains why, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, you may want to skip over this if you do not want to know this. So I'm just going to ring the bell real quick for Tales of the Jedi. So spoilers incoming. Apparently, Dave Filoni has explained why Bryce Dallas Howard's Yaddle does not employ the same language structure as Yoda, and essentially he says that it's because Frank Oz told him, Dave Filoni, that Yoda speaks that way specifically in honor of Yoda's own master. And that's what Frank Oz had to say about it. So using that as a reason gave Filoni license to have Yaddle not speak that way.
Part of me wants corroboration with Frank Oz about this, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Also,
but at the same time, it's Filoni, and you know that Filoni
Right.
is so close to all of Star Wars.
right? Yeah, I would. Wouldn't be something. Also, Yaddle deserved better. Hashtag Yaddle deserved better. So,
I agree.
next up, Andor director Toby Hayes talks that Forrest Whitaker and Stellan Stargard's scene was, quote, a career highlight. Go ahead, cue it up. Or you don't have it set up.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I will in a hot second. Just that I was already moving on to the next story that I was going to read. So it's interesting that I missed that.
Lies! Deceptions!
There we go. So yeah, when Toby Hayes took over for creator Tony Gilroy as the director of Andor's first block of episodes, he too was shocked by the bold direction of the show. Besides heavier themes and a more serious tone, it was extremely important to Gilroy that the series has a verisimilitude, and that meant foregoing the franchise's fondness for prominent Easter eggs, although there are plenty to be had in the show still. Gilroy even encouraged his collaborators to put away their Star Wars fandom in order to make a show that isn't hyper aware that it's Star Wars. It's been working out for him so far. Anyway, cut to the chase. Hayes, a lifelong Star Wars fan, admits that there was some concern about his passion for the franchise, but ultimately he made it clear that he's a storyteller. Tony Gilroy, quote unquote, was nervous about how much he loves Star Wars, but I always say that I'm a dramatist first and a Star Wars fan second. Sure. Cutting to the part where we're talking about that one particular scene. Hayes says it is a day he'll never forget, and he quotes, "They really went at each other, and there was this incredible tension in the room as they read the scene," Hayes said. "Seeing Forrest Whitaker do that was just absolutely magical, and to have him play opposite a heavyweight like Stellan was a career highlight." There you go. Which, that was a damn good scene, admittedly. So
Yes. Yes.
you gotta love it if you hadn't seen it. Also, hashtag Steela deserved better. If you don't know who Steela is, you can go back and watch Clone Wars. Next up.
So this is the story that Roddykat and I were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It was news to us that Andor is actually preparing for season 2 already. So some news came out that from Tony Gilroy that 3 directors have been tapped to direct episode blocks in the second season: Ariel Kleiman, Janice Metz, and Alonso Ruiz Palacios. So some preparation is already underway, but we will not get season 2 of Andor for quite a while still, because they still have to, produce it all. And, even though it's not like super special effects heavy, there's still, some of it still is produced with some SFX. It's not, the volume, as it were. It's not exactly like Mando, but ultimately these things take time, and we're probably not going to get this probably until 2024.
Right. This article basically says that season 2 starts filming soon, but I feel like there's an article somewhere that suggested they could have been filming seasons 1 and 2 together. I know there are some shows that have done that, so it could be mixing that up with that. But yeah, this is definitely news that that was the case. So good.
Yep.
Next up, though, Star Wars: The Acolyte reportedly begins filming in the UK. So According to some site, the Acolyte has begun production at Shinfield Studios, according to a recent interview. Showrunner Leslie Headland described the show as a mystery thriller set in a prosperous and seemingly peaceful era. She also confirmed that the series is set 100 years before the events of The Phantom Menace, and the new series. Oh well, I think we probably talked about who's going to be in it, but just in case, the new series is set to star Amandla Stenberg, featuring Lee Jung Jae, Jodie Turner-Smith, Manny Jacinto, and Charlie Barnett. A couple of those names that I know of. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't think 100 years before puts it directly in High Republic territory, because I think that's like 400 or 500 years prior. So, but, yeah, I don't know. That's I don't think that matters as much at this point. Next up.
So, there is a Batman spin-off series about Arkham Asylum. So this is the Robert Pattinson Batman, that is being brought to HBO Max, and it has brought on a new writer by the name of Antonio Campos. This is news that Variety has learned exclusively from sources. So,
but I ain't one to gossip, so you ain't heard that from me.
You heard it from Variety. And sources say that Campos will direct and serve as showrunner / executive producer on the series, should his version of the show ultimately go forward. Matt Reeves, the director of The Batman, has also said that there is a planned Gotham PD series, and it turns out that that PD series is still moving forward. Again, more gossip. An individual with knowledge of the situation says that it is also kind of developing separately from this Arkham Asylum show.
And again, even though it's not in the Matt Smith verse or Matt whatever his face verse, we already had
Matt Reeves
right verse. We already had a Gotham PD show, and it was bonkers, and I loved it, liked it a lot. Stargirl has been canceled at the CW after 3 seasons. According to Deadline, Stargirl will continue to air new episodes on Wednesdays through December 7th, when it will ultimately conclude. Stargirl stars Brett Basinger, who is not related to Kim Basinger, as we as I you might have heard me say previously.
Oh, okay.
Although I'm not sure where I got that confusion from. And after I said it, after I thought about it, I was like, she's a little too young to be Kim Basinger's daughter. Let's face it. Unless her mom's name is Kim, then that would be something, but it is definitely not the actress. So, yeah. Yeah. Don't know whether this has anything to do with the ongoings of Warner Brothers, but probably likely. Plus, I don't know who was watching. Actually, I do know somebody who was watching that show, so I hear decent things about it. I don't know. Next up.
So circling back to Matt Reeves's The Batman universe, the Penguin HBO Max spin-off series has cast Kristen Milioti as a female lead opposite Colin Farrell playing Oswald Cobblepot. So according to Deadline, Milioti will play Sophia Falcone in The Penguin, who is the daughter of John Turturro's Carmine Falcone in The Batman.
All right, sure. James Gunn on signing on to lead DC. Quote unquote, Kevin Feige was the first person I told, apparently. So, sure. Gunn revealed in a tweet from his personal account responding to the now deleted tweet asking if the Suicide Squad director hated Feige and Marvel now that he was heading the rival comic book company's movies. His response said the opposite, and that Feige was the first person that he told after taking the gig, followed by Peacemaker actor John Cena. He also said that while DC and Marvel may be competitors, both companies shared a common goal of keeping the theater experience vibrant and alive, aka making buttloads of money. That's it.
Next up, Netflix's The Witcher will officially be returning for a 4th season, but it will be doing so without Superman. That is, with a new Geralt of Rivia, as Liam Hemsworth will be replacing Henry Cavill after season 3. Makes sense. Henry Cavill's got some Superman stuff to do.
Well, I think I've heard tell there was another reason why he stepped down from the role, and that he had stipulations on doing the character, but I'm pretty sure it definitely wasn't Superman, so let's be real. But presumably there was another stipulation that that had him stepping down from the character.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if that part is actually true. I know people have been talking about this, basically saying, well, this show's over. And also, and I know a friend of mine was like, yeah, they got the wrong Hemsworth. And it was
That's funny.
And it was like, how are they going to explain the changing in character? I mean, changing in person, because they don't even look, obviously, they don't look anything alike, and Liam is not as built as his brother. I'm sitting here like, he swallowed a potion, which there is a potion in the Witch universe that is called Swallow. So I don't think that has anything to do with that. Regardless, it doesn't really matter, because either people are going to watch it or they won't.
All right. I was about to say, let me take this next story so that you can take the Doctor Who story that follows.
Okay.
Because that one involves some discussion. So this story is The Sandman, a show that Roddykat has not watched, but I have. The Sandman has been renewed for season 2 at Netflix. That is good news, because they did a very good job of adapting and bringing up to date Neil Gaiman's Sandman story. It took a while, but they finally got around. Netflix finally got around to announcing the renewal for season 2.
Yes. After rumors of its demise previously. So
yes.
So yeah, Disney reportedly planning to give Doctor Who a quote-unquote Hollywood makeover. Again, reportedly is the key word here. I think we talked about the fact that Disney Plus was going to be the new streaming home of Doctor Who.
I don't remember. That's news to me. So
I don't remember seeing an article lineup. I can't remember whether we talked about it or not, but I feel like we might have. But I don't remember. Either way, according to a report from The Telegraph, Disney is reportedly planning on giving a Doctor Who a quote-unquote Hollywood makeover when the upcoming 60th anniversary season comes to Disney Plus outside of the UK. So it is explained that Disney will have say in creative decisions for Doctor Who under the terms of a co-production deal made with the BBC over its long-running sci-fi series. However, showrunner Russell T Davies will retain the overall creative vision for the show. It says also here that Disney is also looking to give the budget a, quote, vast budget beyond the BBC's means, allowing for more cinematic production values and more stars. Like, hoping and guessing that's the more Hollywood makeover that they're talking about. But it said that these higher budgets for productions are, quote-unquote, commercially sensitive and have not been revealed. So, it is interesting because... So here's the thing, folks. Doctor Who was originally a low-budget, a lesser budget, let's just say, show for kids. Some would say it may have remained that way, even though, people have grown up with it. So, and even with the new Who stuff, there has been a bigger budget than the older shows had, but still, I guess, relatively modest, let's say. So I'm sure Whovians are like, Hollywood makeover is going to kill it. I haven't really seen the scuttlebutt about that. I would have to ask some bigger Who fans than me. I admit that I kind of bristled at this. I'm kind of a casual Doctor Who fan, and the low budgetness of it has always been a fun factor for me, because there's a certain quality with it that it still had that was enjoyable, and giving things a bigger budget doesn't always make things better. let's just say. But what's to say if that may or may not be the case here? You know. So we'll see. That's pretty much all I have to say about that. And like I said, I would have to talk to some bigger Whovians than myself about what they think about that. In fact, I probably will do that in the next couple of days because I'm very curious about what they think. Like I know I kind of ran up against it for a second, but you know, who's to say? Next up, though.
Alrighty, so Lord of the Rings of Power co-showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay have talked about how season 2 will quote unquote respond to the criticism the Prime Video series received during season 1. So what they say in an interview with Vanity Fair is that they're still refining the last bits of the script, but they've already written most of season 2 well before season 1 came out, but they're taking into account some of the critical and audience response that the first season received, and you know they basically are taking that into account. They're not going to overcorrect, but there's to a certain extent some course correction.
Yeah, which I'm sitting here thinking, do they actually need any quote unquote course correction?
I mean, I think what they say in the interview, without me going too deep into it, is that they're going to really harp on the real strengths of the show.
Right.
You know, and some of the things that people responded well to.
Yeah, because part of that made me think, okay, wait, so they're saying they're going to try to line it up a little bit more with existing material, or, you know, that's kind of how I originally read it. But yeah, I can see that.
Right.
Universal Boss wants a female Fast and Furious film. Chairwoman of Universal Pictures Donna Langley wants to see an all-woman installment of the Fast and Furious film franchise. Agent 70 and I were kind of chatting about this last night. About it would be something akin to, well, it potentially could be something akin to the Ocean's 8 movie. Or in this case be like Hobbs and Shaw, be kind of a side thing and not necessarily part of the main Fast and Furious canon. But who's to say if they ever do this, if it ever happens? I don't know if it ever will. This is just like a hope. But you would think the chairwoman of Universal Pictures would probably be the one to be able to kind of help that get it off the ground, if it's really wanted. So, but yeah, it says here, we have so many great and amazing female characters in our franchise, and now there's a new addition of Brie Larson to add to the incredible roster. I would love to see us do a female Fast. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Next up.
All right, next up. So even though technically the clock has passed on Godzilla Day 2022, Godzilla Day 2022 fell on Thursday, November 3rd, and there's lots to do and lots to see in celebration of the 68th birthday of the King of the Monsters, in celebration of the very first Godzilla film being in theaters on November 3rd, 1954. Shout out to the King of the Monsters. Take a look at all of the cool things that you can do to celebrate. And I will also say that Shout TV is doing a cool thing with John Carpenter, where he's giving his thoughts on some of his favorite Godzilla movies. HBO Max still has Criterion Collection Godzilla movies, from the earlier era. And Hulu actually has some of the later Godzilla movies on its service now as well. So go enjoy some Godzilla in celebration of the King of the Monsters. This article also has lots of like toy news and new product news. So take a look at this in our show notes as it is being shown to you by Roddykat.
Yeah. Some of which we actually had talked about in past weeks, actually, including that John Carpenter thing, which, definitely check out. That one day, the Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, it doesn't give a day for that, but I'm assuming that was November the 3rd. Yeah. Right. The movie itself is actually available on Hulu for screening for viewing right now. Right. So yeah, happy Godzilla Day. In related news, new Godzilla movie coming next year from Japan's Toho. You know, the owners of the monster. So, yeah, like I said, the King of the Monsters turned 68 yesterday, as of this time in our recording, which is past 12 o'clock, midnight. But yeah, I did not know Godzilla Day was a thing until we talked about the stuff last week, which was kind of funny, but it makes sense. Who doesn't like Godzilla? Crazy people, probably. The film will be Toho's first domestic Japanese Godzilla flick since the well-received Shin Godzilla in 2016, which I don't remember if I've actually seen that one. The new project...
Really?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I've seen that one or not. I've seen the other
I actually
ones.
saw that in the theaters here in the city.
Nice. Well, yeah, you have access to... Well, I don't know. Was that a wide release or was it like a...
Yeah,
okay.
It was a wide release.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I've seen the others, like the ones around it, put it that way. And that has nothing to do with that whole... the whole... Let them fight.
Nope. It's its own creation.
Right.
So Shin Godzilla is definitely a different take on the Godzilla mythos.
Some would say a more pure, I guess.
No, I don't want to say that, but it's definitely a different take.
I'm just saying some would say a more pure because it's coming from the people and not, Hollywood made. But anyway, the new project remains untitled, with Toho keeping details on the mega monster's return below the water for now. Haha. The legendary Japanese studio revealed that the film will be directed by VFX artist turned director Takashi Yamazaki, who has helmed everything from Doraemon films installments to sci-fi action films like Space Battleship Yamamoto. And Toho dropped a teaser poster for the new movie across its social media channels, including the release date, which did it say already? I don't see a date here. Oh wait. Here we go. Looks like March 11th, 2023. So not terribly far away. So cool. Next up. Are we getting into...
Next up, we are an anime corner.
Yep.
We are an anime corner, folks. Shout out to Attack on Titan. The official website for Technoroid Overmind, the television anime portion of Noriyasu Agematsu Ruka and Elements Garden's Technoroid multimedia project, announced on this past Saturday, additional cast members, a manga adaptation, and the rescheduled January 2023 premiere for the anime. And the website also posted a new visual, which is seen here, as Roddykat is showing you now.
Yep. Crunchyroll acquires streaming rights for the Vinland Saga and releases new trailer for season 2. Let's see. Apparently, this is a highly acclaimed show and will be simulcasting Crunchyroll will be simulcasting the upcoming second season from Japan in January 2023 in more than 200 countries and territories. Based on the manga by Makoto Yukimura, the story follows Thorfinn, who joins the mercenary band of his father's murderer, Askeladd, and who waits for his revenge while Askeladd plots politics. And then there's an official synopsis for season 2 in the rest of this article. Next.
Alrighty, next up, high card anime cast Tomokazu Seki, Toshiyuki Toyonaga, and Chiharu Sawashiro. Those are 3 more cast members for the anime of the poker-themed high card multimedia project. Okay.
Yeah, because, hey, they've done anime about everything else. Why not poker?
I was about to say it's the anime Rounders, apparently.
Yeah, seems like.
Shout out to Rounders, which is a great movie, highly recommended from myself.
Indeed, indeed.
Makes me want to go back and watch it again.
Do it.
Come on. If you can't tell who the sucker is at the table, then you are the sucker.
Some people say Kakegurui is a good anime along those lines. If you, not necessarily Rounders based, but it's like more gambling based anime. I know some people like it, some people don't. Whatever. Spy Family embraces Halloween and Disney in cute new art. Oh snap! I just remembered. I did not watch the last episode.
Oh no!
I knew I was forgetting something, and the last episode of Chainsaw Man either, which I heard it got bonkers, more bonkers.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to get on that after I get off of here tonight. So, but yeah, anyway, if you're watching the video version, you can see the tweet from Fendo, which has the Forger family dressed up as the Incredibles. It's cute. Oops, I didn't mean to click that, but nevertheless, you can see the tweet right there. I'm assuming that is a bond that Anya is sitting on, but you can't really see it in this cropped picture. And the caption is trick or treat on the thing. It's good looking art. So I guess I will say right here, right now, if you go to the clickbait section, there's a couple of other real life folks that have done some very interesting and very nice Halloween costumes for Halloween. I only did a couple because I don't think I saw a comprehensive list, but there's some interesting folks. There was some interesting stuff that was done this year out there. Alicia Keys did Beerus, which was kind of funny to see. I was like,
really?
Yeah. I can't remember if I got that one. Yeah. Swiss Beats, I think I forgot who he was, but I don't think it wasn't a Dragon Ball.
It wasn't a Dragon Ball character.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, her Beerus was actually not bad, and Megan Thee Stallion did Miroku from My Hero.
Really?
Like I said, there was some really good ones out there. Kerry Washington did Lionel Richie from the Hello video.
I did see that. I did see that. But now you made me want to take a look for these particular anime inspired ones, because guess what, folks? Now I recognize who those characters are.
Yes, indeed.
That's a play on my observation at when I go to Comic Cons, now that I've kept expanding my my range when it comes to genre and pop cultural references. When I started going to Comic Cons pre my binge watch of Game of Thrones, I was like, why are these people running around in fur coats? Now I understand. And guess what, folks? Now I recognize all these anime. Oh, not all. A lot of these anime costumes.
Right. There was still a lot of Your Forge. Well, there was Your Forges, but not from like celebrities. So yeah, the Megan Thee Stallion one is in our clickbait section. Oh, there was also Batwoman star Javicia Leslie did a very nice Storm Halloween costume, and that one also is in the clickbait section. And matter of fact, folks, get a chance, look at the show notes, look at this clickbait section. There's some good stuff in there, including, if you want CBR's list of top writers and artists that they're currently going down in increments, hey, go for it. You can see the start of which. There's also this other Dragon Ball shirts. And also, I got to call this one out. Deep Space Nine, underrated. The Guardian apparently finally figured that out and is talking about it. You should watch Deep Space Nine. It's a great show. Back to the news, though.
Wow, I was about to say, I got to give Megan Thee Stallion some credit, because this is a character that is very, very new to the anime, but not to the manga, obviously.
So she's a straight up nerd, though, because she's to say what you want. People will say what they want about her, but yeah, she's as some would say, a straight up weeb.
I had no idea. I had no idea. So I'm very much impressed, because that is a character, like I said, it's a character that is very new to the anime, like literally just introduced into this season. So it's kind of cool that that she would take this on. But if she is a fan of the manga, if she's up on the manga, she's already well familiar with the character.
Yeah, like I said, she's well noted in her love of anime and manga. So.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea. I learn something new every day, folks. Next up, speaking of an anime that I am not familiar with, Bleach. That is on my list. I still have not yet started it, although I have started a rewatch of Attack on Titan. And guess what, folks? So much of it makes so much more sense now to me, because I definitely sped through my first time in order to catch up so that I could watch the most recent season come out in real time. Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War animator, has shared a cool Rangiku sketch. So that series has kicked off the titular war, or that movie. Is it a movie or a series?
Series.
The series has kicked off the titular war between the Soul Reapers and the Quincy's, and one of the animators behind the series is hyping up Rangiko Matsumoto's big comeback with some cool new art. Okay.
See what the artist, the article writer did there with the word titular, because that particular character is well endowed.
Ah.
Yes. When you get into this Bleach, you will know that character when they show up. Anyway.
Understood.
Yeah. So now we're getting to the manga section with Hunter x Hunter manga trailer shows Gon and Killua's bond. And that's probably word is bond. Says here, Hunter x Hunter fans were treated to a short, Hunter x Hunter fans were treated to a short, sweet treat. A manga-based trailer reminiscing on the history between Gon and Killua. The short trailer premiered on YouTube's Jump Comics channel, with more than 2,300 people tuning in to view it, because there are a lot of Hunter x Hunter fans out there. Since his debut of that teaser, as of this writing, it's nearly 14,000 views, but it's been a couple of days, so that's most surely gone up. The trailer features the return of voice actress Megumi Han and Marissa Issei as Gon and Killua, respectively, and showcases memorable scenes from the manga. So, if you're a fan, check it out. Next up,
so the Hunter x Hunter manga has finally returned with new chapters after many years of waiting for it to get back to action, and the newest cliffhanger has brought back the Phantom Troop for a new fight after many years. Okay, so folks, if you are familiar with that group of characters, guess what? They are back.
Yeah. I think I watched like one episode of Hunter x Hunter, and I was like, yeah, I'll come back.
It's on my list, folks. It is on my list.
It's like this.
And now I see that character from Bleach that Roddykat was referring to in the last story that I read.
Yes. Naruto reveals all new look at Hokage Kakashi. And this is, I guess, spoilers for the manga. So it says here, if you did not know, Naruto has a new manga in the works, and one of the two spin-offs just went live. Naruto, the Steam Ninja Scrolls, not to be confused with the movie, which is a great movie, has been given a full manga order after first meeting fans as a light novel. Of course, that means Chapter 1 had to live up to expectations, and it did with it did just that with the Pika at Kakashi. So Kakashi becomes a Hokage. Interesting. You would have to know who that character is. If you know who that character is, I guess you kind of know why that would be slightly surprising. Maybe surprising to me. Either way, that's a thing. We will leave it at that. Next up.
All right, next up. So in some merchandise news, you can get a plush version of Frieza's ride, that pod that he floats around in, for $200. And if you follow the link here, you can see and if you're watching the show, you can see some images of what this plush replica of Frieza's pod looks like. So it's kind of like a cool thing to sit in and kind of lounge in when you get home.
Yes, and shoot through various Dragon Ball darts characters.
Sure.
Or pretend to, I guess. Or maybe you have to have that power. Who's to say? I don't know your life. New Elite Optimus Prime robot is the Transformers robot you've always wanted. Hey, folks, you remember that transforming Optimus Prime that was slightly coveted by, me, Roddykat, that people were kind of going gaga over? Well, there's a new version of that that's slightly cheaper, but still very expensive, basically, made by the same people. So,
no kidding.
Yeah. So let's see. Robosen Robotics has collaborated with Hasbro again to create a new Elite Optimus Prime robot. They tricked it out with advanced programmable capabilities, voice-activated interactions, and state-of-the-art auto-converting technology, which means they probably miniaturized their techniques and streamlined some stuff. It says here that it's essentially the Transformers toy, according to this article, that we all wanted as a kid, a robot that could move, talk, and convert into a car, in this case a truck, and drive around all with an easy remote control. You can use the app to control your robot and hear one of the 80 phrases voiced by the legendary Peter Cullen. Comes with Energon Axe, the Ion Blaster, charging adapter, 2 built-in. It's got stuff, folks. The price tag is a whopping $700, $699, which is
there's a but there,
right? Which is still cheaper than the original price, which was $1,200. So,
right. What's there? Is it smaller?
I don't think so.
It's just a more up-to-date it's just a more current version.
I think they streamlined some stuff, and so they probably got the price down, because the first one was like, this is the first time doing that.
Gotcha.
So that is my assumption with this, because that's usually how stuff like that kind of goes, but it doesn't necessarily say the price on it. So.
Gotcha. Interesting. I'll be curious to see a comparison, just to see the differences.
There's one coming.
Yeah, it has to be. There has to
Somebody with more money than sense, or probably Adam Sandwich, who's the man's got sense. But anyway, next up.
So Hasbro reveals Dicelings, new toys that transform from dice to Dungeons and Dragons monsters. So soon, D&D players will be able to roll a red dragon or beholder when making an attack on a red dragon or beholder. So this is the first wave of figures set to be released in March 2023, this new Dicelings toy line. So the new Dicelings are toys that transform from an oversized 20-sided die to a classic Dungeons and Dragons monster. So the first wave will include 4 toys: a white owlbear, a black dragon, a red dragon, and a beholder. Notably, 3 of the 4 Dicelings are inspired by the D&D Honor Among Thieves movie. However, the beholder figure doesn't feature any D&D Honor Among Thieves branding, suggesting that a beholder won't be in the movie, or at least Hasbro doesn't want to spoil the reveal of a beholder. Okay.
But, hey, if you play in D&D for any other time, there's a beholder end up showing up somewhere, regardless.
Yeah, that's pretty much. And I've forgotten a lot of these monsters. It's been a while since I played classic D&D. So
same. I kind of want these though. They're basically like, because I see I looked at the pre-order, and it's like $14 a piece, and then they have a bundle for a wave bundle with all of them with a couple extra. So sure, have at it if you want it. Disney Plus subscribers will get early access to select merchandise in U.S. tests. So it's in a test that is actually launched a couple of days ago, prior to this show recording, and timed for the holiday season. Of course, Disney Plus customers in the U.S. will get exclusive early access to certain Mouse House merchandise on their company's Shop Disney e-commerce site. The toys, collectibles, apparel, and other products will include those from Star Wars and The Mandalorian, Marvel's Black Panther and Doctor Strange, and Frozen 2 and Lightyear. So let's see. It says here, for a limited time, Disney Plus subscribers can visit Disney's Shop Disney Plus, and it gives a link here, which I won't go into, to purchase said items before they go on sale to the general public. In addition, Disney Plus will include a QR code for featured products located on details pages of select movies, series, and shorts, as well as on a new shop tab on Disney Plus's primary profiles. By scanning the QR codes, you know what happens with a QR code, so we don't need to say that. Next up.
This past Saturday at MCM Comic-Con London, Hasbro revealed some new Star Wars Black Series figures, including Scar Trooper Mike, Mara Jade, Dr. Aphra, Bastila Shan, and Darth Malak, and they are all now available for pre-order on the Hasbro Pulse website.
think it's Malik. I'm not sure, but regardless,
like Rami Malek.
Yes, kinda. I'm not sure if this is the first Mara Jade. There may have been a figure before. This is almost definitely a different version of a Dr. Aphra, because I think I have the one version. And Bastilla Shan is from Old Republic, so I don't know if there was a figure before that. Figures look good, regardless.
Yeah, I was about to say this. The Dr. Aphra I think we've gotten before does not have this trench coat.
Right. So, actually, it looks like if anybody's seen the show Firefly, it looks like Mal. So that's kind of funny. Anyway, next up, Marvel Legends Avengers Comic Wave for 2023. This is an update to a story from Marvelous News that says that it looks like all 7 figures in the next wave have been revealed. It says the only thing left to be revealed for this wave is the Build-A-Figure. So if you're watching the video version of the program, you can see pictures of all 7 figures, one of which is notable as Wonder Man. We got a Cap, we got an Iron Man, we got a Molecule Man, we got the Orb for some stupid reason, and we got Yelena Belova in her, I guess some would say, classic Black Widow form. So, did we not have a Wonder? I guess we didn't have a Wonder Man before now, or did we? I don't.
Oh yeah, we did.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
But it's cool that we're getting the classic.
Yeah, we're getting red jumpsuit Wonder Man. So wait, do we have?
Yeah, I mean that's when I think classic Wonder Man, that's the costume I think of.
Right. Yeah, because nobody likes that green and gaudy whatever he did for later Wacko's run.
No, the Wonder Man that we've gotten before is the Wonder Man, basically like 90s and beyond, which is like that black kind of tank top looking. Right. Yeah. No, but the black tank top looking one. Okay. With the red W.
Okay, right, from the Wacko's miniseries.
Yeah, from the 90s forward, right. From the 90s forward. That's what Wonder Man's uniform was. Even when he went ionic, it was still like a variation of that.
Right. So wait, so do we have, I feel like I've asked you this before, do we have a classic Beast?
Yes. So the classic Beast that has come out recently with the lab coat is the lab coat is fabric. So the classic Beast that we have, we had 2 versions. One had like no alternate head, and the most recent one does have an alternate head that's not like scowling or screaming. So we do have a classic Beast. We have had 2 versions of it. Gotcha.
So basically, you just need to get them 2 together and get a Red Ronin, and then you could be like, or put a Beast on a light post and reenact a couple of times where they went binge drinking.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this is something that a certain vintage fan of Avengers has been asking for. And, trust me, when I think of Wonder Man, this is the costume I think of.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because when he got a big head and became a star, that's, his choices in outfits, or their people's choices in outfits for him just got worse.
Yep. All right, next up.
I also noticed, I was about to say, there's the Iron Man is an extremist version of Iron Man.
Oh, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that extremist Iron Man armor, this is basically a redo of an Iron Man that was really good, but the sculpt and the size of the character was off, right? And this is basically a redo to try to correct a deficiency in that particular action figure, because that one came out small. Right. So this is basically a redo with like the up-to-date technology, the pinless technology, and anyone that complains that the extremist armor, which was basically the Iron Man armor for a long time in the comics, people who who really want to like reenact that. Oh my goodness, the artist's name is escaping me. But basically, it's the scene, it's the pose that they replicated in the MCU. Is it, where he's landing, doing the superhero landing?
Yeah, that's as a matter of fact, that's the pose they have on this picture.
Exactly.
Is it Adi Granov?
Yes, Adi Granov. Yes, Adi Granov is the digital artist that I was thinking of, and anyone who wants to replicate that really wants to get this this updated Extremis Iron Man version of the Marvel Legend.
And believe it or not, that name came
Next.
off the top of my head, so I'm proud of myself.
Hey, good job. Marvel and EA have signed a 3-game deal starting with an Iron Man game, which I think we talked about
Yes.
already.
Mm-hmm.
Details about what's coming after this Iron Man game are still thin, but each game will feature its own original story set in the Marvel Universe. Okay.
I kind of hate the fact that it's EA that has this, but because EA, but then again, I don't know, just video game, there's a lot of things going on in the video games. So I guess, well, yeah. I want to get my hands on the original, the Sega Iron Man game, and actually play it on stream one day, because I think that's one of the few that I don't have. Actually, maybe I do have that one, because that one and the Captain America were not great games, but they're interesting looks into what they were at the time. But stay tuned for that. The MCU branches out into podcasts with official Black Panther series. So Marvel announced its first foray into the world of, well, this is not true. Announces first foray into the world of podcasts with 6 episodes looking at the making of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Proximity Media, co-founded by Black Panther director Ryan Coogler, will collaborate with Marvel Studios and Marvel Entertainment on the project. According to the press release, the 6-issue Wakanda Forever, the official Black Panther podcast, delves into the story of the new film, as well as honoring the late Chadwick Boseman's legacy. Ta-Nehisi Coates, an award-winning y'all, come on. Ta-Nehisi Coates, folks. He wrote Black Panther. He's a novelist. Y'all know who it is. Serves as a host and writer on the podcast. Paula Marda, head of audio at Proximity Media, produces the podcast and executive produces along with the company's founder, Coogler, Zinzi Coogler, which is Ryan Coogler's wife, and Sev Ohanian. So, yes, I kind of bristled on the fact of the first foray into podcasts, because we know Marvel has a couple of podcasts that have been running for quite a while. And some audio series you might as well say are podcasts. So, anyway, next up.
So, in a preview for the relaunch of Invincible Iron Man, we have some covers here for the series that's going to be written by Jerry Duggan. And it's going to have art by Juan Frigeri. This is going to be released December 14th, 2022. So it is sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just kind of scrolling through the variants, the covers. Oh, including...
Sure, we have the main cover by Cale Nagu and a whole host of variants done by name artists.
Yes, I like the connecting one by Bob Layton.
Oh, that's old school.
Yes, I love it.
Seeing Layton's Iron Man, there's an era of Iron Man for people of a certain vintage that, is classic. We're talking, pre and Armor Wars.
Right. I'm about to say, yes, that would be us. He's talking about us.
Pretty much. Folks, I've talked about this and I've gotten compliments very recently on coming up with this term of being of a certain vintage.
Yep.
So, we talk about that. And you know what? It's going to probably outlast us. Let's put it that way.
Miles Morales Spider-Man trailer released by Marvel. So this is a trailer for the upcoming #1 issue that Cody Ziegler is writing, and with artist Federico Vincentini. Let's see. The book itself comes out on December 7th. According to this, the new series will put the fan favorite web slinger, quote unquote, through his greatest trial yet. And fans can get a glimpse at what Miles will be facing in the new series in the trailer, which is probably attached to this article, and also the cover of the new #1, which you can also see. So next up.
Alrighty, so the upcoming Spider-Man Dark Web crossover event is going to debut a twisted new Dr. Octopus, who appears to be some sort of literal octopus, okay? And a new group of villains called the Insidious Six. So Marvel revealed new cover art created by Adam Kubert for Dark Web Finale #1, which is written by Zeb Wells, and is set to release February 1st, 2023. So pictured in the background behind an upside-down chasm / Ben Reilly is a host of demonic monsters, one of which represents notorious Spider-Man villain Otto Octavius / Dr. Octopus. Okay.
One of the covers looks like an homage to an X-Men cover, or maybe a Daredevil cover. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. Anyway, nice looking stuff. Marvel unsheathed the first look at Blade's Daughter's solo series. So the series which we talked about previously was announced at New York Comic Con. It's been penned by Danny Lore and illustrated by Karen S. Darboe. Bloodline, the daughter of Blade, spans 5 issues, each with each entry in the series revealing the origin of Brielle Brooks, a character who first appeared in this year's Free Comic Books Days Avengers X-Men special. Quote, one of my earliest Marvel memories is watching Blade with my father and being in awe of how intensely cool the Daywalker is, Laura said. Over the years, I've only grown to love Blade even more. Brielle Bloodline Brooks is literally the child of a dual legacy in that way, both Blade's long history and my personal comic legacy. When you guys join us on this journey, I hope you find a part of yourself in Brielle's story. So, I've liked a lot of Danny Lore stuff. They've done some good stuff. Matter of fact, they're doing that Shattered Glass Transformers thing. That's put some pretty good bits in there. I like. So yeah, I think this is coming in February. Will be the start of this book. This has also been a long put off book because he's started a whole number of times in the past few years. So looks like it's actually finally coming out. Next up.
Right, this story is about a book that I talked about this week that I reviewed very quickly. Batman and Joker are teaming up to basically save Harley, and I talked about this earlier, so we can move on to the next story.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm going to take that one out. DC reimagines Green Arrow and Black Canary's first meeting. This is from, I guess, a quote-unquote spoiler from Dark Knights of Steel, which came out this week or last week, one or two. I think it's this week, actually. But yeah, apparently in this Elseworld story, they melt in a different way than they did in the main comics. So we don't necessarily need to go into that. But if you're up on that book or interested in it, you can check it out yourself. Next up.
So Webtoon has terminated its creator rewards program, and that is putting many creators who are already finding it challenging to earn a fair wage in the industry. They're putting them in a financial crisis. A notice was sent by Webtoon notifying its Canvas creators that the creator rewards program will end in January 2023. A tipping system will replace the program, but the platform did not divulge details as to when they would implement the system or what it would look like, leaving many creators in a state of financial limbo. The announcement was met with anger and frustration by many creators whose income largely comes from the program. That is too bad.
Yeah, you kind of hate when that stuff like that happens, and fortunately, it happens a good bit. Next story is a preview from actually the Transformer Shattered Glass number 3 that I mentioned previously, written by Danny Lore. I didn't get a chance to read this, but if you are interested in that, there's some preview pages in this article for that book. It's basically Transformers mirror universe. The Autobots won and their despots, and the Decepticons are the rebels in this case. So check that out if you're interested. Next up.
All right, last but not least, in terms of our story, in terms of our news, actually, Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves' story will start in a comic. So IDW Publishing has announced that a new Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves prequel comic will come ahead of the release of the upcoming Paramount Pictures film. So it's going to be called The Feast. It's going to be subtitled The Feast of the Moon, and it's a prequel from writers Jeremy Lambert and Ellen Boehner and artists Eduardo Ferragamo and Guillermo Sana. So this is going to be released 1 month before Paramount Pictures' upcoming Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves live action film. The Feast of the Moon introduces readers to characters featured in the movie as they set off on a mission to stand against a dictatorial ruler. So that is going to come out, scrolling, February 2023 from IDW Publishing. The movie itself is going to be released on March 3rd, 2023.
And that's it, folks. Can we get one more ad read?
So before the last ad read, I wanted to talk about, remember, folks, earlier in the episode, I stepped away to grab something.
Oh.
And I wanted to show it to everyone because I posted about this in the social medias, but I wanted to reveal that I had finally gotten around to it. It's something we talked about on the show. I did, in fact, get a replacement for my New York Public Library card. I got Spider-Man New York Public Library card, and it is pretty awesome.
Nice.
It is very cool. Got a lot of compliments on it after posting it on social media. Unfortunately, the library system here in New York City is a little convoluted, and some a fan of the show, former guest of the show, author Crystal Velasquez, unfortunately found out and was reminded of how wacky the public library system here is in New York City. 2 boroughs specifically of the 5 have their own respective library systems, Queens and Brooklyn, my home borough. And interestingly enough, the Queens Library, the literal home of Peter Parker, does not have this. Rather, the New York Public Library has it. The New York Public Library branches encompass Manhattan and the boroughs of the Bronx and Shaolin, Staten Island. So it's unfortunate that Queens does not have it. But it's, like I said, it's a reminder that the library system here in New York City is a little on the odd side. We don't have one unified system. 2 of the 5 boroughs have their own. So, I grew up as a card-carrying member of the Brooklyn Public Library system. And when I got to high school, I discovered, commuting into Manhattan, that I needed a separate library card to deal with Manhattan materials to borrow, books and whatnot at Manhattan Library. So I had to apply for one. Luckily, you can, you don't have to be a Manhattan resident or resident of the Bronx or Shaolin to get a New York Public Library card. You can be just a resident of the 5 boroughs.
Right.
So I'm very glad to have a New York Public Library card, and I replaced my old one, which was like, an update of the one previous. It was actually already a new version that had the classic lions that are in front of the main branch of the public library, and I replaced that with this new Spider-Man limited edition card. So I'm very happy to have this.
Nice. I'm slightly jelly. But also, yeah, I do remember you mentioning off mic about the craziness with the library system there. That's kind of bad. Also, shout out to Christopher Velasquez because I also did her. I saw her accidental cosplay or Halloween costume. I guess I don't know which one was which, but yeah.
Yes, Pulp Fiction.
Yes, that's pretty cool.
Yep, pretty much. All right, our last ad read of the night. You know what we read when it's late and we're tired. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or early Christmas presents. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, and that is the end of this here show as I, test something out on the fly. Thank you each and every one of you all for coming out. Again, next week, movie protocol. So we will keep you abreast of when we record, but it will probably be on that Friday night.
Right. It will not be next Thursday.
But the audio version will probably come out the same time it normally does. So which will usually like a day or two later, depending on things. So with that, folks, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNoteSneed on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. PC_Dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Nerd on Twitter, and popculturenetwork.com and all those umbrella sites therein. And Tim, DOGG98 on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. The Kliq Nation on Twitter, that's TheKliqNation, thekliqnation.com. But also, and most importantly, comicbook.com, where he's over there writing his face off. Timothy Adams, go look for him there, go read his stuff, get that man some clicks. He actually, we're not just saying that just because he's with us, but he actually does some good writing also.
Yes.
So, he's not only the founder, but he's also, anyway. That being said, folks, you can find us also on the Cold Slither Podcast Network, that's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. And normally, like I said, we will be recording every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/TheKliqNation, and simultaneously on twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles. So thanks to the the new follower on the Twitch page. We only have 20 more followers to go before we can actually start uploading some stuff. So that's cool. And hopefully we'll be getting some other side streams going. And there's definitely some video games I could be doing that is comic book related. So stay tuned for some of that to happen, including one or two that are actually going to be coming out pretty soon. So with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Wakanda forever!